So this time last year, I was spending a lot of time in hospital with my son. He'd just had a full spine operation, and I was living in Appleby in Cumbria. Every week the flood siren was going off. We were living with flood barriers at the front and back door, sandbags everywhere, and then we ended up with no electric, and the road collapsed outside, and it was just absolutely dreadful. I've got a few friends in Harrogate, and they came up to support me when I was in complete crisis, and they said, right, we're going to get you a house down here, we're going to move you down here. There's a lot more for special needs children down here as well. There's a lot more opportunities for me here, and with starting up my business, I'll be able to meet friends and get into the community that way. So it was all a really good idea, but obviously the pandemic just scuppered every plan. So financially, I used all my money that I had saved for rent and deposits and running both properties at the same time, as I moved quite quickly due to the floods. So yeah, when I moved here, I had to claim universal credit because they don't do housing benefit in Harrogate, it's all universal credit. So I had to stop my tax credits and things like that, and it all had to go into this one payment. And they didn't give me any money for about 5.5 weeks. I had to wait for the payment. And they did offer me like a sub, an advance, but I have to pay it back. And with me them being behind on my bills, which I knew I'd be behind on my bills, which I've never been behind on anything, I was worried about having a debt because I've never been in debt. I've never had credit cards and things like that. So I didn't take the advance payment. I just thought somehow I'd manage, and I obviously didn't manage at all. I've got a social worker for my son because he's got disabilities, and I spoke to them on the telephone because obviously we couldn't meet. And I just said, look, I was just in tears saying, I'm losing so much weight. The kids are hungry. They're not getting full meals. I'm not eating because I can't afford to get any food. And even if I could get if I could get money to get a food shop, I'm not allowed to take the children into the supermarkets anyway. And I don't have anybody to help me. I don't know my neighbours. I didn't know anybody really. The only people I knew were my friends, and they worked in the hospital. So I've worked so hard all my life, and just not being able to provide for them for the first time ever it absolutely broke my heart. Them asking me for if they can have donuts and things, and asking me if we can have crisps, and we don't have anything.
Basically, my husband was he was a gas engineer, and I had a business, and he got leukemia first, and then he fought that, and then he got lung cancer, and he fought that, and then it came back, and it was terminal. So obviously we couldn't work. I ended up caring for him. We struggled. He was told to eat a clean diet. We couldn't afford a clean diet, not on benefits, where it was fresh fruit and vegetables. I can cook, so I did cook from scratch. But the likes of all the ingredients that go into the clean, there was no processed food allowed. And I think even working class people can only afford sometimes processed foods, because other foods it's too, they've made it out of your reach unless you go looking for the bargains at 7 o'clock at night, when the supermarkets do put the prices down, which we've done. We're frugal to a degree. So I do think it can happen to anybody. You don't know what's around the corner. Illness is not a great thing.
What did it feel like when you realised?
Failure, like a failure. It felt like that. Like you failed your kids, your husband, everything really. I used to look for jobs, but knowing that I couldn't physically do a job and look after Wayne and at the same time. And they don't make it easy for you, because I claimed a carer's allowance, which is something like £64 a week. And again, £64 a week.
How many people?
Well, there was three of us. It's not a lot. So going from a wage of, it was to sometimes £300 a week for just me when I was working, that's without Wayne, to £64 a week carers. they didn't make it easy for you, you know, to claim it. Again, everything's a battle. We battled through it. I mean, Wayne battled the disease for 11 years. So my son, from the age of 4, all he ever knew was his dad poorly, not very well. So it's been hard all round, really. But I'd like to stress, if it wasn't for people like Resurrected Bites, mainly, we would have, I don't know what would have happened, to be honest.